Good morning, you're tuned to The Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, joined in studio by the usual suspects, Paul Moati, Stephen Hunt. Be looking forward to tomorrow, Paul. Fantastic racing.
Certainly is. Group 1 day up at Te Rapa. What have we got? The Herbie Dyke, the Sprint, and not just Group 1, we've got proper Group 1 fields as well.
Gee, that Sprint, we'll get to it obviously.
We will, yes, but yes, it's very, very enticing.
Yeah, mouth-watering. Good morning, Steve. You and your team have been busy over the last 7 days. You've been thoroughbred racing everywhere.
Yes, race meeting every day between now and rewinding the clock 7 days ago to the previous show, and there's been some really good racing. Good weather always helps, but actually took the family over to Taraniko on Monday. It was a really good vibe on track, plenty of family activities for the children, etc. A bouncy castle for myself as well, so all went down well. Good racing. Michael McNabb having a stellar day. He's had 2 or 3 of those of late. We'll talk about a bit of stats around Michael McNabb later in the show, but we had Champions Day at Wingatui.
Yeah,
perfect scenario. A slight upset considering the hot favourite and Prise de Fer was disappointing on the eye, just never really was in the race from the machine really, Prise de Fer, so he'll keep to another day. Taranaki had a really good day on Saturday.
Family ties.
Yulanova, family ties, puts herself in commission to an Oaks, and Yulanova I thought was one of the performances of the week, the last 7 days. I thought she was terrific in the 2-year-old classic. To the 600 she's run 34 and change. She's kept up that gallop to win by just over 6 lengths, Yulanova, and I see she doesn't hold a nomination for the size which were out this week at our pony. So I think Stephen Marsh and the team will try and keep it at 1,200 metres, maybe mutter possibly, and then head towards a potential Group 1 at Pukekohe over the 1,200 metres. But the one head scratcher I've got in the last 7 days, and maybe BP can help me out here, was the headache that it was. I was trying to review the race in terms of a Derby profile was the Waikato Guineas. You had a $50 shot winning, who on pedigree shouldn't get over 1,600 metres, but was winning over 2,000 metres. Some of the tactics and the rides were a bit questionable when it came to the Waikato Guineas, and it was all played on heavy tracks. So just don't know sure how to read that race. Looking towards a Derby prospect in a few weeks' time.
Okay, well let's head north to Brendan Popper. I believe he's on track. BP, have you got your Warriors jersey on up there?
Well, we should, but hey, it was only a trial game, team, so we just got to keep a lid on it as we gear up for round 1, which of course will be against the Newcastle Knights out of Wellington the day before Derby Day, which will be here at this venue. And boy, what a day we've got coming up tomorrow, because the fields are red hot, and really you'd have to say these are the 2 best Group 1s we have seen on the racing calendar for 2022-2023. With the BCD Group Sprint, you've got 6 Group 1 winners in amongst the field, multiple Group 1 winners, and the Herbie Dyke, the richest weight for age race in the country, is really set up as well, with those 3-year-olds adding so much interest to the race, with 2 of them at the top of the marketplace as well. So, look, it's all set up for what's going to be a super day. Yeah, Stephen's right there around the Waikato Guineas. I mean, we are sort of hanging out now for the Avondale Guineas now, aren't we, to get that final guide, because it is just such a tricky race to try and break down and work out as a Derby guide, with, look, some horses failing in behind, other horses maybe not liking the track conditions. Some horses were making ground late when they looked like they were tracking wide, and Whitetack, for instance, who was coming out and around and then come back underneath them. I still thought Devilton was very good into second position. Looks like it set himself up nicely towards the Derby too. So yeah, still an unknown zone, and maybe tomorrow's Herbie Dyke will help us out too, because we've got 2 runners that are right at the top of the Derby market in Sharp and Smart and Wild Knight for the New Zealand Derby, major competitors tomorrow in the Herbie Dyke.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to reference his bet on Devilton in the futures market again, was he, Paul?
You bet or bets?
Very good. Hey, Pops, we'll come back to you. Maidener of the week. Yes, you were spoilt for choice this week.
Yeah, it was a tough one because there was just so many good ones. I could just say you could go to the Topol race meeting on Tuesday and make that your maiden race meeting of the week, because there was many of them. Look, I've gone with this race purely because we want to be on Paul David next time to the races. I don't know what sort of price you're going to give us, but surely this horse is a winner next time to the races, because he's going up to Insatiable, who does have a reputation, and I do love the way that he's fought him off. Insatiable was a one-time Karaka Million 2-year-old futures favourite. Now, that was only his second start to the race. His first race day start was very unlucky out of Rotorua. He was a horse who bounced out of the right race because he was in behind Ask Mum, who's then come out and won very impressively. I think there's a lot to like about his win and also the second horse in the race and Paul David. Look, Blind Freddie could have seen Paul David's run there finishing in his second spot, but he did trial up super and he was always going to be the biggest danger in that race to Insatiable, and they've run away from the rest of them. So I think it's a good maiden race with a key of having something on Paul David at the very cramped odds next time he lines up to the races.
Going to be cramped, Steve, off that?
Well, no, it was a good performance, wasn't it? I mean, they're always touting this horse as a 3-year-old. Whatever it did as a 2-year-old would be a bonus. It didn't get quite to the races, but its trials have been going very well leading into its performances this time and as a 3-year-old, and it's been scratched on a few occasions in the last month or so down to track conditions, Mata and etc. But got the job done at Taupo. You see a lot of those figures down the bottom there. A lot of it was in red, but again, it's hard for a maiden to show green when it's to the 600 and last 600 because that's based on open class par time. So look, the overall class rating was 1.16 below par. I don't want to knock it on that occasion. It was a day where a lot of horses ran below par for whatever reason. But yeah, Kairu's Pride, Val d'Isoldo, 2 horses earlier in the program that are working back possibly from an Oaks, so the horses to follow once you get over 2,000 plus in Stakes Company. But yeah, as BP mentioned, it's a meeting that you want to watch a few times on My Sky and dissect the form going forward.
Run the My Sky over it. Very good. Right, we better get to these races because if I know the leg up, we're going to run out of time at the back end of this program. Stephen, yeah, exactly. Steve, running through track conditions for Te Rapa tomorrow. Gee, the weather today's anything to go by. We might be in for a treat.
Yeah, the weather looks spot on. We're just going to get in there before the storm hits the top of the North Island at the back end of the weekend. But currently a good 4. There was 2 millimetres of irrigation applied on the track this morning. The rail's back in the true position there. That's key information, Thaddeus, because you rewind the clock back 7 days ago to the Waikato Guineas meeting. The rail was out 8 metres and they chewed up the track because it was on a genuine heavy around that 8-9 pentometer reading. So we're back on a good 4 and there's going to be a nice fresh strip of grass from 8 metres to the rail. So look, I'd say a lot of horses will be looking to find that inside surface at Te Rapa, which can be the case when it's on a good deck and the rail's in the true position. But the overall forecast going forward is spot on for the next 24 hours. I suppose the key question going forward is they may have to add just a little bit more irrigation later on today/tonight because it is presented as a good 4, and I think they'll be wanting to just show it around that good 4, good 5 at first swing tomorrow morning.
Okay, let's go to the BCD Sprint Group 1 over the 1400, Steve. Tricky market to frame up in many respects with the quality of this top 3.
There was a bit of a disparity between the team here and Petone earlier in the week who would open fave. Who originally went with Imperatriz and La Creek 320 each of 2, but the pundits have spoken. They've driven the price in towards the mare Imperatriz 320 to 270. She holds 2 times more money than Levante, who also has been a firm. Open in that third line, 4 into $3.60. La Creek, something had to give with the weight of money around the 5 and the 6, 320 up to 380. And then double figures around Dragon Leap, Babylon Berlin and Maven Bell, $16 each of 3. Faithful Feet 31 to 21, always well played earlier in the week. Bonnie Lass at 21, Mustang Valley out of turn 21 to 26, and Just a Canter best of the rest at $61. So look, overall summary in the first 48 hours of trading, Imperatriz best back runner, just in front of Levante with La Creek a slight drift.
Okay, let's have a look at the speed map, Steve, because this is going to play an integral part, and with the rail back in the true, as you mentioned, going to be quite important.
Yeah, look, there's a bit of speed in this race for the first furlong or 2. I've got Faithful Feet leading from an okay gate, Sam Spratt to ride there. I think Babylon Berlin will eventually come across from a sticky gate of barrier 9 and sit outside Faithful Feet. And I think La Creek, because of those 2 sitting 1-2 in the map, will get that ideal trip, 1 out, 1 back. Opie Boston and Imperatriz, I think he's got to show a little bit of intent out of the machine. She has tactical speed, but there might have been a slight question mark that possibly with that speed outside her, she might shuffle back to 2-back rail. But I think Opie Boston will be hoping for that trail position and no further back from that line. Bonnie Lass should just sit in behind the hot tempo set up from the first 4 there on the mat. Look, Maven Bell showed tactical speed as a juvenile, but this time as a 3-year-old they've ridden in more neutral, so I've just got a front of midfield. Dragon Leap just behind midfield there. True enough, just a terrible map for him, for a horse that likes to go forward. Just not sure where he presents from a wide alley. Mustang Valley, Levante, they'll drop back to the last third and just decanter Gino Severini at the back of the field. So I think they'll go at least even tempo for the first half of the race. They might try and button it off halfway through running, but I think being a Group 1 and the pressure on being a high-profile race and the likes of Faithful Feet and Babylon Berlin, even tempo throughout, and may the best horse win.
Gee, talk about the best horse. 3 top liners here. BP Imperatriz has taken a lot of money early, back at Te Rapa, and got the job done last time out in the Westbury Classic.
Yeah, look, and she's a horse that operates well at this venue. I mean, she's 4 from 4. She's won 2 Group 1s at this venue, a Foxbridge and a Northland Breeders. So that her 4 wins are not just a maiden race and a couple of rating raters. She loves to perform here at this venue at the elite level. And look, she's a high-class 4-year-old mare is Imperatriz. And this race set up beautifully for her, really. I mean, she was just so well placed for this particular race, the Westbury Classic, as opposed to going back down and having another shot at the Group 1 in the Telegraph. It just was able to fit better, and we know that she races better with that little bit of space between her runs. With her win in the Railway, they decided, pretty quickly, a couple of days after that she wasn't going to contest the Telegraph with in mind of coming back here for the BCD Group Sprint. Yeah, her draw's good, and it's just going to be down to, as you mentioned there, Stephen, with what comes across and Opie finding that position for her. So she's got so many things in her favour. Look, the interesting one out of that map is what does Babylon Berlin do in terms of how they want her to be run? How does she run the 1400 metres out? Does she go strongly? Does she try and take that position outside Faithful Feet? Because I thought her run in the Telegraph actually still had a lot of merit, because she's only been nailed very late by Levante on that occasion. And we hear so often you need to be a good, strong 1400 metre horse to win a race like the Telegraph. Well, she nearly won it. She's run 2 great seconds at the elite level. I just wonder if she's in that right space to run another big race here on Saturday. Yes, you've got the 3 big guns there, and Levante, Imperatriz and La Creek, but look, Babylon Berlin certainly could run a big race sitting up on speed, and I don't want to just drop her just because she's moving out to 1400 metres. A lot of different variables to this race, but boy, it's going to be a super race to take in.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about Babylon Berlin second in a Telegraph, also second in the Railway, Steve, and that Railway run was as good as anything as well. So is she value at $16?
I think she is. I think she's been let go purely by the 1400. And you rate her, like, you look at the price that she paid in the Telegraph. She was rated, I think, roughly a 28% chance, 360, 370 from memory. And she's only rated a 6% chance. That's too big a disparity purely just on the extra furlong. So the key asset around her and why she's a better horse this season, she's been able to take a sit. You just look at the Railway, just rated through the roof, 3.7 lengths above par. It was one of the highest Group 1 sprint races we've had in the last 2 to 3 seasons. She's been able to take a sit, Babylon Berlin, where previous years, in particular as a 3-year-old, she just wanted to get out of the machine and go, go, go. And she's been hard horse to ride to try for those jockeys just to settle a mid-race. But this time around, when there's been a horse that's elected to go forward with her, she's been able to take a sit outside her or take a little bit of cover and just save that energy where she's been more dynamic in the straight and been a very hard horse to pass. And only 2 very good horses have done that in her last 2 starts, in Levante and Imperatriz. So that bodes well to get over 1400. I just feel that the market has let her go. Purely, yes, I know it's the 200 metres, but it's too great for me. I rated her probably low teens, around that $11, $12 mark, Babylon Berlin. And if she's ever going to get 1400, it's going to be at Te Rapa. And I just feel she's got the dream spot here to sit outside Faithful Feet here. Let Faithful Feet do the donkey work up front, get a little bit of cover possibly, or just sit outside her. And she's going to run a race, Babylon Berlin. And you look at the prices now, possibly a top 3, $2.62. Sorry, top 4, you're getting $2.60, $2.80. And that's pretty attractable because I've marked her a little bit short in the final field win market.
Okay, Paul, what are you thinking here?
Well, she deserves a Group 1, doesn't she?
She does, yeah, it's fair call.
She was just, a hop, step and a jump away from either the Railway or the Telegraph. So I think she is the value runner in the field, Babylon Berlin.
Okay.
And I agree with Steve. I think Sam Spratt and Faithful Feet will go to the front. They may even try and steal it. It's not the first time Sam's stolen a Group 1, so I expect to see Faithful Feet go to the front and just try and get away from this field and hopefully have enough in the tank as they come around the turn to hold on. If not, then I think that sets it up very nicely for Babylon Berlin. So, yeah, I really do like the top 3 at 380, and I think what Steve said, the top 4 at around 260, 270.
It was a good second in the Te Rapa, wasn't it? Behind Levante, and Levante looked to be back to her best as well.
Yeah, well, she's been up against the best in Australia, and her run here was just sensational. Once again, Babylon Berlin was just tough, really, really tough to the line, and it took something special from Levante to get over the top. So it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. So the more I look at it, the more I like Babylon Berlin as the value runner in the BCD sprint.
Yep.
Imperatriz, well, she deserves her favourite. She just oozes class. As BP said, loves Te Rapa. The 7 furlongs, perfect. It'll be very, very tough. It's a great race. But the value for mine is around Babylon Berlin and possibly the filly, Maven Bell.
Yeah, well, we might have a look at her in a minute as well, BP. But Levante, look, good to see her back into Group 1 winning form, and you know she's going to get the race probably run relatively to suit and should get the last shot at them, no doubt.
Look, you'd think so, wouldn't you? And I guess the key component for her is they just don't want to just really ease in the mid stages of the race, because that's when it could get a little bit problematic. We know that there's horses that want to push forward and get in their positions. You just don't want them to get to their spots and then pull stumps for a couple of 100 metres as well, and just take some speed out of the race, because we know where she's going to be. She's going to look to get on that train. Of course, she won this race last year off the back of winning a Telegraph, so she brings the similar form lines as last year does Levante, and look, we know she operates well here at this venue also. So look, there's a lot of good factors around her, and clearly she was just not quite on top of her game, and look, there was a couple of turns in the screws to get her to Trentham, and they had her bang on for that race. I mean, there was a massive margin back to the third horse in that race, and that's why you keep coming back to Babylon Berlin, just how well she's running that race to finish second and really test Levante all the way down the straight out of Trentham. Yeah, I think we've all said that she looks like a great top 3, top 4 chance. But yeah, if the race pans out right for Levante, we know that she'll be stonking home.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, Maven Bell had some interest into this race, Steve. There's no doubt. The 3-year-olds really adding some interest across the board, and look, this is the El Manzor Trophy on Karaka Million night, and she got there. She got there.
She was a pronounced fave, almost touched a red, I believe, Maven Bell, and this was on the back of a very good first up performance. Look, naturally, I was a little bit disappointed straight after the race. I thought she wanted to put a little bit more of a margin on this field. Look, she did regress slightly from her first up run to winning the El Manzor, roughly 2 lengths inferior to what she produced first up at Pukekohe. But there was a slight excuse. So I went back and looked at the Stipes report, and she was galloped on halfway through the running. So you could make that a case why she didn't put maybe 1 or 2 lengths off that field. Again, even allowing for the weight for age weight scale where she finds herself down in the weights, she still needs to probably improve 2 lengths. That's my assessment at this stage against the likes of Imperatriz and Levante. Saying that she deserves her crack, but yeah, I just feel that she's probably at best a top 4, top 5 chance, and I don't have her in the top 2 at the current price.
Okay, Paul, who else is in your numbers here? Anyone? I mean, I'm a Dragon Leap fan personally, and the 1400 at Te Rapa would suit perfectly, and could get a cosy run from 5.
Yes, and with Warren Kennedy aboard, you'd think that Dragon Leap would get a nice little cosy run and be ready to pounce as they hit the 400 metre mark. So certainly, it's just a fantastic field.
That's the problem, isn't it? There's some good horses paying some big prices, isn't there?
There are, yeah. And so if you don't want to take the sort of shorts on the top 3, then you can look at someone like a Dragon Leap or a Babylon Berlin, who I am very well invested in.
Yeah, Paul BP, look, there's one horse we haven't mentioned yet, and it seems crazy that we haven't, and that's La Creek resuming. No money for it at this stage, but boy, she's got plenty of class as well.
She has, and I feel like she could get the best run in the race if the map plays the way and there's that speed from outside, and she's drawn barrier number 3. We know that she's a horse that can naturally put herself there. She really could find herself in that 4th, 5th position, you know, sort of one by one sort of spot, just tracking the speed. And that means she'll be in a real sweet spot over 1,400 metres. We know that she was supposed to run in a Thorndon Mile first up. Yes, didn't go there because of the heavy track and set their plans towards this race. Look, I think she's on target to run a huge race here. And just with how the market is, when you've got that pressure at the top with Imperatriz and Levante taking money, you'll get money for Maven Bell, which we've seen. Some money for Babylon Berlin. Something's got to give, and I just feel as though if you sort of squeeze those two prices from up top and below, you almost feel like La Creek's going to pop out at around $4 plus and get to maybe even $4.50. So I feel as though that she becomes the bet in the race at her price, and I also think I want to be on her anyway because of where she does sit in terms of the map with where she can get the right run. So I think you'll get the right price eventually, because I just feel as though there'll be so much movement around Imperatriz and Levante because they deserve it. They've won 3 Group 1s each and what they've done on the track, the high-class horses. And then there'll be horses like Maven Bell and Babylon Berlin getting spec'd where she just might get a little bit left alone and become a nice prospect at value. Yeah,
well, are you concerned about the drift around the creek, or do you think BP sort of surmised it quite well there?
It's not alarming, the drift. 320 out to 380. Look, if it went anywhere near $5 leading up to the race, you'd be a slight concern around her chances, because the market is bang on in the last 5 minutes. It very rarely gets it wrong. But thus far, we just had to turn it out a couple of turns purely on the way to money we're seeing around Imperatriz and Levante. But if you go back to her Arrowfield stud stakes win in the spring, La Creek, and I know that was 1,600 metres, but in terms of speed rating, that was clearly her PB, even if you're comparing some of her performances as a 3-year-old. But that speed rating was right up there to what Imperatriz produced in the Railway a few weeks ago. And look, the question mark is 14. Is she better suited to 1,600? Possibly, but I think the way she maps, as BP's alluded, she may get away with it at 1,400 metres against our best sprinters in the land. But yeah, look, I've got no doubt she probably starts with a 4 in front of her name, La Creek, in terms of prices. But yeah, I think it's a game. We just need to assess how the track's playing as well. I know this is the back end of the program, and you'd naturally think with the races that fall in front of it that the track might even out. But as we say, a good track, the rail in the true position at Te Rapa, naturally it suits on-speed horses, and that might play in the favour of La Creek, where you see Levante drift on race day, purely on the back of how the track's may well playing. And I go back to Levante. Yes, she won this race last year. 1,400 metres looks to be a nice sweet spot. As we know, Trentham Place, potentially 1,400 in her Telegraph. And she won this race last year. But you've got to remember, there was only 7 horses in that field last year. You've got 12 horses to contest with Ryan Elliott on Levante. And that's a big difference. When they were coming off the rail last year, there was probably a little bit more of a tail in the race last year, and as I mentioned, there was only 7 horses to go around. So, yeah, Ryan will have to be bang on in terms of when he blends into the race and judges the tempo up front.
Okay, BP, look, I think I read somewhere overnight, Andrew Forsman suggesting that Agon's would be a better chance in the Ore than he would be in the BCD Sprint. Just shows you the quality of this field. How did you land here?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Look, I'm going to go with La Creek. I just feel as though she really is something out of the box, and I'm happy to be speccing for a $4 plus price around her with her map, and I'll go with her as my top selection. I don't think there's going to be much between them, but between Imperatriz and also Levante coming home late. If you're looking for something else, we've mentioned Babylon Berlin, who's going to be up front and really running a race. Of course, there's DIY power plays to play into. If you are looking for something, I think it goes up to a top 6 market in the DIY power plays. Look, Mustang Valley did trial up nicely. Look, the horse is going to get back, but if it is run red hot, the horse was very good in a recent trial. She might be able to run a race and beat half the field home and finish into 6th position. You've got Dragon Leap, who might be that sort of horse as well, who can finish into the top 6. So, yeah, make sure you jump on the TAB website and look at those DIY power plays.
Yeah, they've been very popular, no doubt. Paulie?
I'm glad he mentioned them. But look, we're almost 25 minutes in and he hasn't talked about Gino Severini, who's
Don't you start. Yeah, I can't waste time. I'm sorry. No, all respect to Gino Severini.
Wow.
As I say, I'm running out of time already. We've only just started the show.
I like the fact that BP's mentioned the do-it-yourself power plays, because if you do like someone like a Gino Severini for a top six,
you
can put him in there with another 2 or 3 runners to finish in the top 6 or top 3, and you've got yourself a nice little do-it-yourself power play. But I'm going with Babylon Berlin each way.
Oh, yeah, very good. Okay, taking the value. You'd agree with that, Steve? Who you've got on top, though?
Can she win? Probably not, but I think the value is around her in the top 2, 3, 4 market. She'd need all top 3 in that point end of the market to regress on previous starts. I just don't think that will happen. But look, I've got Imperatriz on top. I'm willing to risk Levante just on the map. Again, I'll just assess how the track's playing on the day, but she'll have to give at least maybe 2 lengths around the turn, possibly even more, depending on the tempo, and she'll have to run some ripping sectionals, and she may mathematically be in an unwinnable position at the top of the straight purely on how the race shape develops. But for that score, I want Levante as a little bit of a risk, and I'm happy to have Imperatriz, Low Creek, and also Babylon Berlin as that horse to spice up exotic bet types. And just on Mustang Valley, I just see there's an interesting gear change around this individual. We touch on it would have been better suited if the storm was happening right now. She's got outstanding figures on slow to / heavy tracks, but front bar plates on for the first time, and that may be just a bit of precaution being first up and whatnot, knowing that they're going to strike a reasonable track, but it's always a gear change. It just makes me a little bit nervous.
Okay. Let's move it along, gents. Race number 6, the Herbie Dyke Stakes Group 1 over the 2,000 metres. Stephen, this is an interesting field, and the 3-year-olds certainly make it.
Yeah, Sharp and Smart, open $3 flat, just out of turn to $3.20, but again, not alarming, well supported. Wild Knight, open $4.40 from memory now to $3.80. Defibrillate's gone the other way, 4 out to 4.2. Coventina Bay out of turn, 8.50 to 9. And Campioness has been well played. A late nom during the week, Campioness out of the Tiakau barn, 13 to 10. He's a doozy, 15 into 11. So the 8 and the 2 and the 8 have been firmers in that middle market. Asterix well played at 16, currently losing liability. And best of the rest is the 3-year-old Cruise Missile at a $21 price. So look, no strong lead. As I mentioned, the 2 and the 8 have been well played, and currently if this race was to jump right now, they are our biggest liabilities, but warm support around the 9 and the 10 at the point end.
Okay, BP, there was a stack of money for Sharp and Smart resuming. We obviously got the late scratching of a creek in that Thorndon Mile, and he's a doozy who will contest this at $11 and was the winner of a Thorndon Mile. Is in the field. So what do we make of Sharp and Smart's run in a Thorndon and even money, and do we get on here at $3.20?
Yeah, look, I think at the time punters would have been upset because he went around as a $2 favourite and he got beaten. And there was probably a point in that race where if he'd been able to get to the outside of He's a Doozy, could we have seen a slightly different result? And this is the key part of the race here, where Sharp and Smart comes back underneath He's a Doozy. But you've still got to remember, this horse was first up. And as much as we know that he was ready, and hearing that he was ready to go off the back of his efforts through his exhibition gallops, he was coming off the back of a placing in the Victoria Derby, and this was his first run. So we all know that he's going to be a spot on for a race like tomorrow. Over 2,000 metres, a race that he has won at Group 1 level, has Sharp and Smart. What do they do here speed-wise? Is this a horse that will be positive from out wide?
Steve?
He's a Doozy. Yeah, look, I think look, the question mark around He's a Doozy is that the 2,000 metres, he's had one crack at it and has failed. But if we bring up the speed map here, I did find it very, very tricky. Who eventually leads, who takes a sit. I fractionally went with Cruise Missile as the leader, purely on a couple of factors. One, the barrier 1 for Cruise Missile, as you see there, and also a 3-year-old taking the advantage of the weight relief in terms of weight for age, and making the horses that have to carry 57 to 59 chase the 3-year-olds at the lightweight. So on that score, I've gone fractionally Cruise Missile as leader. Now, he hasn't led in any of his races to date, but I concede a small sample size thus far around Cruise Missile, but just felt from barrier 1, he was my default leader. Sharp and Smart and Just Amaze. Now, Just Amaze has shown a real lack of tactical speed from early days, but what I believe at Just Amaze is that if it jumps neutral, at some stage in the first half of the race, they will be positive, and they may even take on Cruise Missile and potentially go forward and lead if the tempo is slackened. So I've just got Just Amaze there in the top 3. Sharp and Smart, I think they've got no choice but to go forward. Whether they come right across and lead remains to be seen. I think an ideal spot for Sharp and Smart supporters would be sitting outside the leader, whether it's Cruise Missile in the first half of the race or the second half, Just Amaze. As we've touched on, he's a doozy. A little bit of a question mark, a mile and a quarter, but I think they'll be fairly positive there. Asterix and Wild Knight in that neutral position. Then you've got Defibrillate, Demonetisation in that back third, and Coventina Bay, again, just showing no tactical speed whatsoever. This season will go back to the last position from a sticky gate. So, yeah, intriguing, Matt. It's fascinating. I still haven't worked it out, and I'm sure we won't until after the race. But, yeah, I've just fractionally leant towards Cruise Missile as the leader. But whether he remains leader will be dictated around the local and how much intent they show mid-race.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a short round Wild Knight, Paul, and this is a very, very interesting run of the 3-year-old. He's just looked so good. He's a bit of a winning machine in many respects. He just knows how to win. Beaten by prowess last time, but he's a quality individual, isn't he?
He is, and this was a very, very good run. He's looked very, very good for this campaign, to be fair, and just couldn't quite pick up prowess, who was a deserved winner in the Karaka Million Classic. But look, he's beaten a number of very, very good 3-year-olds this season. Mazzolino twice, who came out and won, I think, a Wellington Cup day, Mazzolino. Michael McNabb jumps on, the current leader in the New Zealand Jockey Premiership. I'm guessing because he's at 54, Opie couldn't get down to that. If Opie had the choice, do you think he would have stuck with Wild Knight?
That's a good question, Steve.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, the word out of up north, that Wild Knight worked extremely well. They worked together, Wild Knight and Campanesia, and obviously Opie was on Wild Knight in the gallop on Tuesday, and well, there wasn't too much between them, but I've got no doubt he would have been able, if he was able, to get the 3-year-old weight, that it would have been a Wild Knight selection in front of Campanesia. Saying that, Campanesia is not without a chance. It was late nom during the week. She's got the turn of foot. Yet to be seen at weight for age turn of foot, but obviously in handicap races and fillies and mares and races and whatnot, her sectionals have been very good, right up there with the best of the day wherever she's performed this time in. So she deserves her spot, she deserves her late nom. As I mentioned earlier on, she's gone 13 to 10.
Michael McNabb, how's he going? He wasn't the leader of the Premiership 7 days ago, to be fair, was he?
Is he in front now?
He is in front
He's
now.
in front of Craig
Paul's just told us that he's in front.
Okay, well, let's bring up
McNabb.
some graphics around Michael, because he's had a phenomenal 7 days. As we say, he's got a plum ride on Wild Knight in one of the Group 1 features. Funny enough, he doesn't have a ride in the BCD Sprint. But as it's turned out, look at these figures from the last roughly 2 and a bit weeks, from the 4th of February this year. Rides 25, winners 11, median price $4.50, a winning strike rate of 44%, versus market expectation, which sits at 18%. It's very rare, and probably since I've been doing these figures and numbers around jockeys, I can probably recall once where a jockey has doubled the market expectation in terms of a winning strike rate. And you see there 18, the market expectation, but the winning strike rate of 44%. That's phenomenal. Profit on turnover, $1 on each, 84%. And when he's riding at the point end of the market, $4.50 and less, so $4.50 being the mark of the median price, he's exceeding that and just blowing it out of the water at 258%. So he's rewarding punters at the point end, which is very crucial, because as we know, that's where they gravitate in terms of turnover. But he's just been in phenomenal form of late, and he's got some pearl over rides on Saturday, including Wild Knight.
Yeah, absolutely. BP, you might have half the England cricket team up with you at Te Rapa on Saturday with Defibrillate, having some pretty interesting connections, and that one in Isabel Classic was strong. Do we still call Defibrillate, I'll get it out, underrated?
I guess we do. And will that happen in this market as well, with where he sits on that third line of betting? Will he become a horse that will get out to 450 plus? Maybe he might. Look, this is him winning the Zabeel Classic. We know he has very good Australian form. He is a genuine weight for age performer, and he got the job done here, didn't he? And he also, Graham Richardson understands the horse, knows the horse well, because he keeps the runs very well spaced, and he was happy to be able to do that again, and just given the exhibition gallops leading up towards the Herbie Dyke here on Saturday. So look, I just feel as though he is in the wilderness a little bit in his price, where he could just drift out to a better quote with all the pressure, and no doubt that it's warranted pressure too from the 3-year-olds in Sharp and Smart and Wild Knight. So yeah, I think he becomes a bet in the race, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you what, if he does drift out to 450, maybe 5, I expect a whole lot of pound sterling to rain down upon you on Saturday.
Yeah, look, he goes well. He goes well. I mean, what is it? Two-time Group 1 winner now, or more?
One time.
Oh, that was that was his first, but he's underrated.
Yeah, is he though? Going by his price, I mean, he's rock solid at $4. Why do we declare him as underrated?
Yeah, okay.
Possibly leading into the Zabeel, there was a bit of a question mark where he fitted in terms of our weight for age horses, purely because of his Aussie profile in the last 2 to 3 seasons. But one thing I am a little bit concerned about is the field that finished him behind Defibrillate in the Zabeel Classic. It just hasn't stacked up in the last 3 to 4 weeks prior to that event on the 1st of January or the 26th of, I think it was a Boxing Day, wasn't it, the Zabeel? But you had the Alan Sharrock mare that ran well below betting expectation. Pries de Furs had a run since and was very disappointing last Saturday. Only one horse has bounced out of the Zabeel and has been a sub-winner, and that was Soldier Boy winning the Martin Cup a few weeks ago. So I just don't know if it's the right ingredients. The numbers were okay. I got no negative on the numbers in terms of speed rating and the sectionals that produced Defibrillate, but just in terms of the horse flesh at bet that day, I just want to slowly gravitate towards the Sharp and Smart and Wild Knight.
Okay, well, one more video we want to have a look at before we hit the half-time, when it's well past half-time, of course, is Asterix. And look, I think he's the X factor in the race. He's the interesting run of the Derby winner. Paul, you got him anywhere in your numbers? He could be anything here, boys.
Exactly. Yes, I've got him slotted in there, and I'm going to slot him in my do-it-yourself power plays as well. I think he's a huge top 3 champ. As you say, the current Derby champion, and looked very, very good there. So,
what do we do with him, Steve? What do we do with him? I mean, he looks a quality galloper. I know that.
Yeah, numbers are okay. You see there, they ran home really well. In fact, his last 600 was equal to the best on the day with a 1200 metre galloper. Yeah, that was on a rain-affected track. But look, I don't think anyone would be surprised if he won the race. Look, he goes into this race in a similar profile to when he entered the Derby. He entered the Derby only 3 runs under his belt, and we just weren't sure where his ceiling was. Out of the 3-year-olds, if you exclude them and you just talk about the 4-year-olds and older, here's the one horse where I just don't know where his ceiling is. No. It's got potential to get better and higher, and that is the question mark. Where he sits in the market, I think he's safe enough at $16, but again, I just wouldn't be shocked if he ran a ripping race here. And the figures on its last start performance is solid enough. He wouldn't have to improve a huge amount, maybe a length or 2, to be right in the winning mix here. Yeah, he's an intriguing runner. BP, what's your thoughts around the Derby winner from last season?
Yeah, I can't quite line him up, to be honest. I'm not sure about him for this race. I think it's maybe a point of him going forward to something else. But look, they've rolled the dice. He's in the field. He might be able to run a sneaky top 4, possibly. But I don't know. I'm happy to risk Asterix tomorrow, because I feel as though a horse like Cruise Missile at $21 is going to get a better run and a better chance of even winning the race as opposed to an Asterix. So I'd be looking at the Cruise Missile sort of each way, top 3, top 4 would be the line I'd be thinking, just with how the map works out, because as you've said in your map there, Stephen, with Cruise Missile, he could lead, a Sharp and Smart come right over. Whatever which way it works, he's going to be in the right spot to run you a really big race at huge odds. So, look, Sharp and Smart, Wild Knight, I wouldn't be disappointed if either of those 2 horses won, but I'm going to stick with the Defibrate. I thought he was a horse that he's at 420. You might get a touch. You might get a touch more than that as well when it gets closer to race time. But the 3-year-olds have really set this race up, the Herbie Dyke Stakes. Boys, we'll come back to you and then we'll have a special guest for us as well.
Yeah, okay, we'll quickly get your numbers, Paul.
Well, look, we haven't even mentioned the defending champion, Coventina Bay.
Oh, yeah, well, what do we do with her? We haven't got time to talk about it, of course, but what do we do with her?
Well, look, she got bumped around in that last run at Trentham. Yeah. I'm willing to give her another go.
Oh, you stuck. Oh, come on. Is she in your numbers?
She's in my numbers.
Of course she is. You're a big Coventina Bay fan, though.
Yeah, look, Sharp and Smart is one of the best 3-year-olds of just super.
Yep.
But I'm sticking with Coventina Bay.
Oh, God.
Come on, Robbie.
Okay, team. We've got half-time intermission. No minute with Moati. Some would say we might have something a little bit better. We'll head back up to you, Pops. I believe you've got Te Rapa CEO Butch Castles standing by.
Certainly do, yes. Butch is with us. Good morning, Butch. And boy, we're ready to go, aren't we? A day out from the big day.
Yeah, sure are, Brendan. It's a gorgeous day today. Hope it dawns like this tomorrow as well. Look, tomorrow's a fantastic race day. Those two Group 1 races, the Herbie Dyke and the BCD Group Sprint, to be as good as we can put together in New Zealand, and 3-year-olds just add such a dimension to Wait for Age racing.
Boy, doesn't it? I mean, you must be so proud to be able to look at those fields and see the 3-year-olds in the Herbie Dyke, which we know is, year on year has been one of our best Wait for Age races in terms of stake money as well. It holds the top billing. But boy, it's set up now with those horses that are looking to come to the Derby, of course, here at this venue. Yeah,
that's the difference this year, I think. The Avondale Guinea's always the prime lead up to the Derby when it's at Ellerslie. But, the relevance of that's probably a little diminished this year because of the fact the Derby's here. 3-week lead up, 2,000 metres on the same track. Absolutely bang on, I would have thought, and 3 of them have taken that opportunity, and they're all genuine chances. 3-year-olds have a wonderful record in the Herbie Dyke, and not that many of them running it, but they get that 5-kilo weight relief off the older male. So it's certainly at this time of year when they're maturer than they are earlier in the season, that seems to work for them. So, look, I'd expect the 3-year-olds to be tremendously competitive tomorrow, and as you say, a race that is worth $450,000, and that's due to the amazing generosity of the Dyke family.
Yeah. The BCD Group Sprint, a race where you almost keep changing your mind how it could run tactically. Imperatriz is getting very short in the market now, of course, unbeaten here at this track, but you add in a Levante, last year's winner, La Creek, and Babylon Berlin, so close, Dragon Leap, Maven Bell. It really is a super field.
Yeah, it is, and I go back to that's as good as we can get. I mean, you line it up with the Wait for Age 1,400 metre race in Melbourne on Saturday, and you can make a case that's as strong for a less stake. And it was interesting to read Andrew Forsman's comments about the fact that Aegon was over there and possibly landed in a race as not quite as strong as what this one is. So that's wonderful that we can bring, because it's so important to New Zealand racing that we have these races, that these horses compete well here, and then if they head across the Tasman, that they're awfully competitive to get our ratings up so that these races can retain their status. Yeah, I don't know which way to go. Imperatrice, when she's good, she is a superstar. I thought her win in the Railway was really good, but I keep going back to the Foxbridge win. Like, I've not seen one quicken on an off track like she did that day. It was simply breathtaking what she did in the Waikato Studs Foxbridge Plate, and when she is bang on, I'm not sure too many would hold a candle to her. If that's the case tomorrow, then I see her winning the race. If there is a chink in her armour, there's so many chances. And again, I go back to the 3-year-old. We spoke before, she should probably be unbeaten. And if she was, I wondered if the hype might be a little more for her into the race.
Just talking about track conditions and the week, Bart Cowan's done a super job. And obviously, look, there's rain coming, but it's not going to be here Saturday at least anyway. So how is the track faring, and has there been any water put on the track?
It's come back from really quickly from a heavy 8 at nomination time. We had wind, quite a lot of wind on Wednesday and Thursday. This morning it had improved to a good 4, was improving all the time, so Bart just put 2 mils of irrigation on it this morning before any wind got up. That'll be it. It'll be a good 4 again this afternoon. It'll be on that cusp of good 4, good 3 tomorrow morning, and it should run as a good 3. Look, we are in the middle of summer. I think that the grass cover on it will make a difference as well. This time of year that track can be quite bare. Like it is a sand-based surface, and we know if you walk down the beach there's not a lot of grass on it. So, but because of the rain we've had, there is a much improved grass cover to what you might ordinarily get at this time of year. So that'll provide plenty of cushion. I'd see them by mid-afternoon running on a good 3 that would provide, I would have thought, almost ideal conditions.
All right, what are we expecting here throughout the day? All the rooms sort of sold out? How are we looking?
Yeah, they are. Look, the Foster's Lounge sold out. We've got great support, an array of sponsors across the day here. One of the real innovations tomorrow is working with Love Racing to pull together the living legends, and I just think it's amazing that people that look after these horses have seen their way clear to bring them tomorrow for people to see them. You know, there's some international superstars there, the likes of Werther. Like, I'm just not sure we know how good he was. He was a complete superstar of Hong Kong racing. Ping Ai Star, who won a derby up there. That's not to mention the likes of Who Shot the Barman, who had a cult following, didn't he? And of course then our local stars as well. So that's just fantastic. Each horse will be leading a race out across the card. They'll parade in the back parade ring. Then the horses for the race will join them. They'll bring them through the birdcage onto the track, so people get a chance in the back parade ring before each race to see those horses. The public lawn's open. We've already had a number of people asking they can bring gazebos and that. I'd expect a crowd. We've got a big screen on course, so that brings the action closer to people. A few years ago, before I took the job, got here, and it was a real struggle to get a crowd. I just get a sense with a nice day tomorrow and with the fields and those living legends that there might be a crowd here. I hope so, because look, it's a day that is really going to showcase New Zealand racing.
It really will. Butch, before we go, a winner?
Yeah, I thought it was tough across the card, but I did think Master Brutus would be winning race 2. Look, if we're talking about Maven Bell being a genuine chance in the BCD group sprint, then Master Brutus, who ran her to a pretty small margin at Pukekohe, then I think he'd need to be winning race 2. So he'll do me. They'll put him up at 2.2, run him through some Māoris. I thought he'd be winning tomorrow.
Beauty. Thanks for your time, Butch, as always, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Good on you. Thanks, Brendan.
Nice one. Andrew Castle's there, boys, and it's all ready to go here for a massive day.
Yeah, thanks to Butch. It looks like the scene is set for a monster day, no doubt. One more race we want to have a look at Te Rapa is the David and Karen Ellis Fillies Classic Group 2, Steve. I don't know how much time we haven't got much time to spend on it anyway, but we don't probably need to spend too much because, boy oh boy, we've got a short price fave here.
Yeah, Prowess, the Karaka Classic winner last start. $1.50 we posted on Wednesday, that. It's into $1.40. And probably the best bet runner on the card thus far, even though it's well into the red, is Sephora at 8.5, Secura Girl at $12, Nancy She Wrote at $15, See the Light and Melfi Rosa $16 each of 2, and Burgundy If, and Contagious, who both won maidens on the same day a few weeks ago at Te Rapa, 18 and 21 respectively. But Prowess, $1.50 and $1.40. And as I mentioned, probably the best back runner on the card thus far.
GBP, when they're willing to take the shorts at $1.50 on Thursday and Wednesday, you know you're into something pretty special. I think we'll get to see that Karaka 3-year-old classic win again in a minute, and boy, she stamped her class all over this.
She really did, didn't she? And I'm not really surprised that she is. Getting looked at that $1.50 price straight away, she could start shorter tomorrow. $1.40, still nothing wrong with rolling that through Master Brutus. So, look, this was a win where she got in the right spot in front of Wild Knight and was able to just maintain that distance between her and one of her biggest rivals in the race, and Wild Knight over the 1,600 metres. Look forward to seeing her get to the 2,000 metres. Will they be positive? I mean, is the barrier draw of 10, Stephen, do you feel as though they will put her right in the race and ride it like the best horse?
Well, she has that tactical speed. We've seen that in a number of starts, even 2 starts back at Te Rapa, when she came up against a useful 3-year-old stakes race in the Auckland Guineas. Yeah, it's a question mark because obviously they're working back from the Derby. That is the talk, that they're going towards a Derby and not an Oaks. And I don't think they want a tough run. And again, they're looking for the horse to settle. And I suppose one thing that's come out of the stable is they reckon she's just so versatile and she loves to settle in her races. Even if you're asked to squeeze her in the first furlong or 2 out of the machine, she can come back to the jockey quite easily. So on that score, you probably think that they'll show some intent initially. And if there's a spot in the first, say 4 or 5, that she can come underneath the jockey and settle over the 2,000 metres. But yeah, you want to see some intent. If it's not early doors, obviously mid-race, because she is $1.40 pot, and you've got to ride her as the best horse in the field. But she deserves her price. I agree with BP. She could start shorter. let's just see what unfolds in the first half of the card. If a few of those favourites rolling in, then you're looking at the all-ups, the totalisers, those prices will tumble in. And outside her, where do you go? Sephura's been impressive in winning a maiden last start. I thought Malfi Rosa at $16 could be quite impressive, or could be a touch of value. I had her in the low teens purely on her last start maiden win, and she's one horse in this field that has proven over 2,000 metres. So, but you've got Sephura here. Is she in your calculations, Paul, or what are you thinking about her? She's clearly in that second line.
Yeah, she certainly is, and deserves to be there. It's very hard to look away from the top of the page there of Prowess, and with the early money on, it just gives you that much confidence to say, yeah, Prowess is the one to beat. If you're looking for something outside that, though,
yeah, I always am, Paul. You know that.
I don't mind the Tony Pike train Get Lit. Michael McNabb's on, the current number one jockey in New Zealand, and I thought the win, what was it, 3 starts ago over 1,400 metres, was very, very good. But I thought last start, the placing over the mile at Hastings was full of merit. So stepping up to the 2,000 should hold no problems whatsoever. So I'm willing to go. I see she's on the drift slightly, 26 out to 31, but I'm willing to have a look.
This sounds like the making of a DIY power play potentially.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't have them for the...
we don't?
I don't think we've got it for the Phillies Classic. We've only got the Dirt South power plays for the 2 Group 1s.
How embarrassing for me. Yeah, okay. Well, there'll be power plays on the race, no doubt, and they'll all be around Prowess winning BP and something running in behind it. What's going to be running in behind it?
Secure a Girl. I think this horse has a massive chance of finishing second. I would say in behind Sephura, who ran third in the Royal Stakes. Look, this horse was very unlucky. At around about the 600 metre mark, dipped, and then has done a really good job to pick herself up and go again. Had that not happened with where she was in tight quarters, I think she could have finished a lot closer. I'll be looking at your power plays with Prowess into a Secure Girl top 4, having something on Secure Girl, and even maybe looking at playing the exacta of Prowess and Secure Girl. She is an Oaks contender. She's a horse that can get to the New Zealand Oaks and be a really strong chance. And tomorrow will certainly answer those questions with her going to the 2,000 metres. But going again at the 2,000 metres, should I say? I feel as though she's a great place bet in the race. If you don't want to entertain $1.40, certainly around that $2 mark, somewhere around there for the top 4 and a little bit more for the top 3.
That exact is $8.
Yeah, I was going to thank you very much. That exacta $8, very nice, and you'll be having a bit with the Tony Pike run and Get Lit potentially. Yeah, we haven't worked that exacta out yet.
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
I'll be taking it each.
Is there anything outside those the favourites, Steve, that we need to have in our combinations?
Well, just a lot of them are last start maiden winners, and they probably need to find 6, 7 lengths to match what Prowess performed in terms of a speed rating in the Karaka Classic. Out of those last start winners, or even go 2 starts back, I just keep going back to Malfi Rosa. She's one of 2 fillies that has won over 2,000 metres, the other one being the second favourite in Sephura. And if you just compare Sephura's maiden performance against Malfi Rosa was fractionally superior by half a length, and you're getting double the price than what Sephura is currently trading at. So I thought Malfi Rosa, she's well bred on the dam side. She's a half sister to a horse that's produced or performed over in Sydney and some nice stakes races over a staying trip. So, from barrier 2 should get economical run. I thought, again, as I mentioned, she probably is 2 or 3 rolls above where I have her in the market.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up, boys. We're getting close to the time. We wanted to touch on the CS Stevens Memorial Banks Peninsula Cup down there at Riccarton. They've got the 10 race card there, currently a soft 6, rail out 3 metres, but I had 4 gas bags today instead of 3, so they'll be in for a big day at Riccarton, playing support card well and truly to a fantastic day at Te Rapa. Currently Bully Boy sits at 270 in that market, and Jewel of Patch, best backed each way around 6.5, was a good second last time out at Wingatui behind Capo del Impiero. Good luck to the team down there at Riccarton tomorrow afternoon. Righto guys, best bet time. We'll start with Brendan. We'll come back to you. Oh, here we go. He's rolling the dice again.
Well, I didn't get a shot last week with Mark Twain. Of course, was scratched at Tauranga, so we'll just go again. He's running this afternoon at Hawke's Bay. He lines up in race number 6. Look, better surface, quite happy actually that maybe they've missed that race for the race they've got at Hawke's Bay in the 65 over 2100 metres. It'll set himself up nicely for wherever they want to go. And yeah, there's been some money for him. I was happy to go with Mark Twain at Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. Mark Twain racing today, Friday. Yeah, Paul, here you are, on a roll. What happened last week to your best bet? Slight regression, was it?
Yeah, second place and just not good enough.
Not for you, with a 51% profit on turnover. Where'd you go?
I've headed down to Riccarton and race 1 there. And I like the Dummy Myers trained Vada Boom. It's been
You
a
just
long
like
time.
the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been a long time between drinks. What Laos ran back in 2021, so I guess he had a little bit of long COVID, but has had a very, very good trial win at Foxton. And if he runs anything like that, with Lily Sutherland aboard,
I'd say it's been a bit of a mover too, sort of smoke and fire as well for your bet there. That would have interested you.
certainly does interest me. Yes, so Vada Boom for me.
Okay.
Race, let's start the day off nicely tomorrow.
Kick started at Riccarton, it'll be bonus back race, I'm sure. Steve, where'd you land?
You're going to go to the last at Te Rapa on a stellar card. Race 9, the maiden as at mile, Radera. 2 outstanding runs thus far. On debut ran second in a very strong speed rating event, then second up at Te Rapa. Horse defaulted back to last rail over 1400 metres and ran home strong sectionals, which included a bit of interference in the straight, as we see there late in the concluding stages. The key around this individual, yes, it's got Michael McNabb on, but it's stepping up to the 1600 metres. That is the key around this horse, Radera. Yes, he's up against race winners, being a maiden as at race, but I think he's in it right up to his ability, and as I mentioned, that extra furlong's the key.
What price? Do we know what price? Sorry.
I think he's roughly around that $4.50 mark. It's a very compressed market
Nice.
at the point end. I think the favourite's roughly around $4.20, and he's in that second, third line at 4.5.
Okay, got the makings of a nice multi there with this week's leg up best bets. Paulie, wrap it up for us. What do we need to know before we have a bet this weekend?
Don't forget our Twitter poll. Head there, vote on one of those 4 runners there, and the top 2 vote getters will be boosted by the bookies. Race 2, Master Brutus at Te Rapa. Race 5, SVR. And then we head over the ditch for the first time, I think, in a Twitter poll. We go to the Apollo, which is race 8 at Randwick and Animo. And then to Sandown, race 7, I'm Thunderstruck in the CF4. So don't forget to leave a comment. You go in the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. Last week's winner was at Roy BCSNZ.
These Twitter handles always are interesting, aren't they? Yeah, they always get you. Roy BCSNZ, the winner. $100 for him.
Yes.
Yeah, and
He's used it as well.
Oh, has he? Okay.
He has.
Very good. And what else? What else have we got on our plate?
We've got the bonus back blitz. Of course, the first 4 races at Te Rapa, Riccarton, Sandown, and Randwick. Just head to the TAB website, check out all the T's and C's. I'm pretty sure you know that. And of course, the no deductions.
I'm surprised we got through
No
the
surprises.
57 minutes without you mentioning no deductions.
All summer long.
Dry tracks, you see, there's no possibility of scratching.
No, the rain's going to arrive a wee bit too late for Te Rapa, so it probably won't come into play too much. And a shout out to Sammy from marketing, who's leaving us. I'm surprised she lasted this long, having to deal with me, you, and BP on a daily basis.
Yeah, very good.
She's off to chase her dreams overseas.
Oh, very good. Good luck to Sam. All the best, BP. Thank you to you. No doubt you'll be on track for us tomorrow, capturing everything. Maybe Aidan Rodley, the #1 fan, will be there with you as well, hopefully.
He will be, yes, and Leith Innes will come back from his golfing holiday that he's had in Queenstown this week, and he'll be nice and refreshed. Refreshed? Maybe that's not quite the right word, but he will be here as well on Saturday.
Yeah, fantastic. You are in for a bumper day, no doubt. Boys, thank you. What are the plans this weekend? Paul, where are you going to be taking it in?
I'm coming over to your part of the world, Plimpton. Got a birthday party to attend.
Oh, very nice.
After the races, of course.
Is it, 50th, 60th?
A wee bit lower than that.
What sort of birthday party?
21st.
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 Only you.
Security.
Yeah, exactly. Only you. Stephen Hunt, thank you. What are your plans tomorrow?
In the office tomorrow. I'll
Yep.
look after all the futures and a few other things, but
Looking forward to the day.
ripping day.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely ripping day. We know you'll be glued to our screens. We will be as well. We'll see you in 7 days' time on the Leg Up.